Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune in to Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Each week on Culinary Confidential, Christina Cates, a seasoned foodie who has worked at some of New York City's top restaurants, will share her passion for the culinary world. Whether you're a professional chef, a restaurant enthusiast, or a lover of good food, Christina dives into the heart of hospitality, exploring the trends, triumphs, and challenges facing the food service profession. And you won't want to miss her chats with some of the most interesting and influential industry voices. And now, please take your seat at the table as Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates starts now, exclusively on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome to Culinary Confidential, the show where I pull back the curtain on the flavors, the stories, and the secrets that live inside the food and drinks we love. This show is produced in association with Lucas A. Ferrara and Shake It Off Live. I'm so glad you're here because tonight we are talking liquid gold. That's right. We're talking about olive oil. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Olive oil? I've got a bottle of that in my pantry right now. And maybe you do, but I want you to hold that thought. Because by the end of this conversation, I promise you, you will never look at that bottle the same way again. Here's a number to start us off. Global olive oil production has tripled over the last 60 years. Tripled. And the 2024-25 season, it delivered the highest olive oil volumes ever recorded. Over 3.5 million tons. That is not a niche ingredient. That is one of the most consequential liquids on the planet. And yet, most of us treat it like it's just like cooking grease. But here's what I really want you to think about. The time that goes into what's sitting in that bottle. A newly planted olive tree requires 3 to 5 years before its first significant harvest and doesn't reach full production until 7 to 9 years in. 7 to 9 years of tending, pruning, and waiting before you ever see a meaningful yield. And some of the trees producing the world's finest oils, they've been standing for centuries. The patience embedded in a single bottle of great olive oil is almost impossible to comprehend. Then comes the harvest season. And this is where things get urgent in a way most people don't realize. In general, the olive harvest takes place between October and February, though this varies significantly by region depending on sunshine and growing conditions. Italy tends toward October and November. France stretches into January. But across every region, the grower's eye, experience, and sense of touch are what determine the perfect moment to pick. And once that moment arrives, the best oils come from olives that are pressed within 24 hours of harvest. 24 hours. Even the most forgiving standard says no more than 48 hours from grove to mill. And every hour beyond that is a compromise. Most premium olive oils come from olives harvested when they're just changing from green to purple. That precise window when the fruit has developed its complexity, but hasn't yet lost its fire. Pick too early, the yield is low. Wait too long, and the quality suffers. It is a race against time waged every single autumn. I'm stressed out just thinking about this. A stronger, more bitter oil comes from green olives harvested early, while riper olives produce something milder and sweeter. And that's not a flaw or an accident. That's a decision, a philosophy. Every bottle is a choice someone made. And here's something that should change how you shop forever. An olive oil that's milled on the same day it's harvested will likely have a longer shelf life than one milled even 2 days later, even if they're from the exact same tree. That's how razor thin the margins of quality are. And once you open a bottle, you should aim to finish it within the first 2 to 3 months. This is a living, breathing product, not a pantry staple that sits quietly for years. And I myself am guilty of this. I must have 3 or 4 different oils on my counter that I rotate with throughout the year. Forget about using them within the suggested 2 to 3 month window. And someone recently told me you're supposed to store your olive oil in the refrigerator, which I'm clearly not doing either, but we'll get to the bottom of that. Which brings me to my guest. There is a profession, and yes, it is a real certified, deeply serious profession called an olive oil sommelier. Just as a wine sommelier can hold a single glass up to the light and tell you the varietal, the region, the vintage, the terroir, an olive oil sommelier can do the same with a small ceramic cup and a drizzle of something green and grassy and extraordinary. They can taste the harvest timing. They can identify the variety. They know what rushed milling smells like and what same-day pressing feels like on the back of the throat. And tonight, I have the immense pleasure pleasure of welcoming one of those rare individuals into the Culinary Confidential studio. Susan Julia has spent years immersed in this world, traveling to groves across the Mediterranean, training her palate to navigate the full spectrum of what olive oil can be. She knows that 58 countries across 5 continents now produce olive oil, from the ancient hills of Greece to the emerging groves of Ethiopia and Uzbekistan. She understands that the words extra virgin on a label are only the beginning of the story, not the end of it. Here in America, the olive oil market is set to grow at over 8% annually through 2033, and we are consuming more of this than ever, which means the question of quality, of knowing what you're actually buying, what you're actually tasting, has never mattered more. So whether you cook every night, whether you're a seasoned food lover, or whether you simply want to understand what makes a truly extraordinary ingredient extraordinary, this episode is for you. Get comfortable, maybe grab a little bread, a good olive oil if you have one, and prepare to have your palate and honestly your whole understanding of this ancient luminous food completely transformed. Susan Julia, welcome to Culinary Confidential. We have been waiting for you on this show. I am so excited for this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really love talking about extra virgin olive oil, and I love sharing information with the community because it's really misunderstood, both with chefs, and culinary professionals as well as consumers. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Absolutely. First of all, I'm so glad you're joining me in studio tonight, and I want to thank you for the care package you sent me a few months ago in preparation for the show tonight. Your olive oil is my absolute favorite, and I use it exclusively for myself, and I don't share it with my kids. And I know you told me I should, but it's like my special little treat when I'm having a rough day and I'm in the kitchen preparing, the 9,000th meal for my kids. I'll toast some sourdough and I'll just pour myself a little bit of your olive oil, put some flaky sea salt, and I'll just snack on it while I'm making the boys' dinner, and it brings me so much joy. And we'll get more into this later, but the olive oil body products you sent me, the skincare, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I don't know how I roamed this earth for 42 years without them, I swear.
Better leader
So
than that.
I'm happy to hear that. That was a secondary part of my business, and I never sought out to be in the beauty business, but it came out of necessity and just wanting to be real with products that were clean, truly clean.
Yes.
Not greenwashing, like truly the simplicity of what quality ingredients can provide.
I love it. All right, let's start with all about Susan Julia, right? And first of all, I just love the way that name rolls off my tongue. How did you become an olive oil sommelier? Because I've never heard of that before you.
Yeah, well, it really goes way back. And the more I talk to people and I am interviewed, I recognize that what led me to where I am today really goes back to my childhood. I grew up on what was a parcel of land of my great-grandfather's. He came over from Italy, and I God knows how many acres.
Where in Italy?
He was from southern Italy, so they were from Naples and Sicily. And came over here, didn't speak the language, had 10 children here.
Wow.
And had this big farm, serious active farm with animals, and grew everything. And when my parents were married, and all of his children were given plots of land, I think, when they went their way. And my grandparents gave my parents a plot of land when they were married. My father built the house that I grew up in with my grandfather and an uncle while he worked 2 jobs. And I grew up with this yard roosters woke me up in the morning. I grew up in Bergen County, Fair Lawn in Bergen County. People can't believe it. But at the time...
Jersey girl.
Yeah, it's the Garden State for a reason. It was Fair Lawn was all farms when my parents grew up, and there was a large amount of undeveloped property where I was raised, and there were still farmers beyond our property lines as well. So I grew up, hearing roosters in the morning waking me up, and we had everything in our backyard, from Concord grapes to cherries to corn, all the vegetables you could imagine that people grow in Italy as well, and all kinds of tomatoes and apples and beautiful rose gardens. And all of this was grown in organic soil for generations. And I can remember as a child wanting to have friends come over, and some days I wouldn't want them because of the organic manure and things that they were using, and the yard would stink. But fast forward, I remember once I sort of left the nest that I had a lot of issues eating in other homes or going out to dinner because of all the processed food already in the United States. I was born in the 60s. I'm going to be 65. And that was a time when people were turning towards TV dinners and all kinds of things like that. But I didn't really have that in my upbringing. I was used to pure ingredients. And I realized, I just thought I had allergies. I realized, years ahead, my son has celiac, my mother had celiac. I learned to start looking at labels and recognized how many ingredients were in everything we were eating. When my son was diagnosed, I said to him, you are going to be a very healthy adult because as a child, you're learning to read ingredient lists and derivatives of gluten are in all the processed foods.
Yep.
And it's true. He's a phenomenal cook because of this, and he uses really good quality ingredients. So fast forward, my background is design. I'm definitely a creative person, not a salesperson by nature or a business person by nature. I had a small design business of my own, and my son was still young at home with me, and a friend of mine I grew up with brought me to Italy for some events, and that's when I was exposed to high-quality artists and producers. I remember he said, would you like to go inside one of the factories? And I said, yes. One of the first products I saw was in Genoa, and it was a cake called ciambolone, which is served in cafes throughout the Ligurian area, the Italian Riviera. And I saw elderly women like shaving the inside of vanilla pods and squeezing lemons. And this was a mass-produced product, but done the artisanal way. And I was so enamored, having grown up down the street from Nabisco and touring the factory as like a student in school, recognizing the difference.
Route 208?
Yes. I had it brought tears to my eyes when I saw what was going on.
Right.
And they recognized how much I loved what they did. And then I also visited an extra virgin olive oil producer. One thing led to another, and this company asked me to come on board and work with them. And I had no interest because I'm not a salesperson. And they said, no, you'll be an educator. You're going to provide education. You love the producers and the stories. And that's really what led me to a career over 15 years working with specialty foods, balsamics as well, like authentic balsamic, and olive oil was one of the categories. I really focused on olive oil as the years went on because I realized it was the least understood in this country. And it's such a wonderful product when it's properly made. Producers don't have the ability to tell their stories to the American consumers, even the chefs. And I just decided I'm going to provide olive oil education. Whether it's as a brand ambassador, I wasn't really sure how it would play out. And went back to school. I went to ONOW, which is the oldest school for olive oil education in Liguria, Italy, in Imperia. Phenomenal. Yeah, it was with the translator. The course is taught in Italian. And then I went on to another school in Italy. I went to 4 schools in total because I wanted to see what each school brought to the table. And they all sort of teach with a different kind of flair. ONOW was amazing, though. And we tasted many, many, many defective oils, which is really the best way to train yourself to understand.
It's like reverse engineering.
Yes, because we have so much defective oil here.
There's no Bertolli olive oil in your cabinet? No. Nope.
That led to me realizing I want to be an unbiased educator, not representing a brand. I want people to be able to call me and explain what they like. Someone might like a more buttery olive oil. Someone might like a robust one. One isn't better or worse because there's hundreds and hundreds of olive cultivars throughout the world. Italy alone has over 500. So each of them provide a different flavor profile. And when you think about it that way, it's an ingredient in your food, and it's why it's good to have several olive oils in your cabinet. The one you were discussing, the Ligurian olive oil, it's 100% Tedesca, which is from that region. It's considered a sweeter olive with a buttery, creamy finish.
I guess that's the one I like.
Yes,
that's my profile I like. Okay.
So that can be used in baking because it's not going to overpower anything. I use it on my eggs. I use it on my yogurt in the morning. This is such a healthy, delicious.
I've heard of things like that.
Well,
but I've never tried that.
Olive oil slows down digestion, so it helps your body better absorb all of the fat-soluble nutrients in your food, all of your food, whether it's vegetables or whether it's yogurt or ice cream.
Are you having it at every meal? Like a little bit?
Oh my gosh, I have it in it. I cook with it constantly.
You're obviously incorporating it into breakfast meals, with yogurt. So you're having a little bit all day long.
Even smoothies because it emulsifies. So you can make a creamy smoothie without any dairy if you want that. You could do that with fresh fruit. I teach at the Boys and Girls Club, and we've made smoothies, creamy smoothies, and like ice cream like substances that have no cream in them. Just olive oil as the emulsifier. And this type of olive oil, Tedesca, is great for that because, as I said, it's mild and buttery. It's not going to leave you with this big, big nose of herbs and things like that. My education then led me to work with consumers in private events. I do private tastings in homes and country clubs.
What a fun girls' night that could be.
It is a fun girls' night, but it's great. But men love it too. I love to do grill nights because grilling with olive oil is so good for you. It mitigates the formation of carcinogens that you get when you're charring food, which is so delicious. But it's how they make the steak in Florence. They smother it with olive oil. It's great to marinate meats in olive oil as well. But and I teach in the culinary world, so I teach teach chefs, and I work with doctors as well and wellness groups, and I love it all.
And you know it all. That's the best part about this. What is something, I guess, when you're teaching chefs, chefs are at a high level, right? They're culinary geniuses. What is something they misunderstand about olive oil?
Well, so it's interesting. When I started working with chefs, that was close to about 15 years ago, and many of the kitchens, and even today, still have seed oils.
Oh, absolutely.
Seed oils are refined and processed with chemicals and high heat. And we were taught that you can cook with canola and other types of oil. And that's not the case. They're not stable oils. So once the heat goes up, there's oxidation, and it's very, very unhealthy. If I am not using extra virgin olive oil, I'm using really great butter. Really great grass-fed butter. So those are the two fats that I use in my cooking.
What about avocado oil, things like that?
I'm not an expert on avocado oil, so I really can't speak to that, except for the fact that avocado oil has not been studied and researched the way olive oil has. You can go online, you can go to UC Davis, for example, tons and tons of studies about olive oil. Check that site out. That's the North American Olive Oil Alliance. Lots of scientific evidence and studies are documented on both of these sites. So it's been studied for a tremendous amount of time, where avocado has not. So it's not something that I use for that reason.
Okay, I want to talk about building a female-founded culinary brand. Like, what has that journey been for you? What does it mean to you? Some challenges you've had doing it? Tell me everything before we go to our commercial break.
Well, I am a mature woman now, so it's definitely easier taking this route at my age. I have to say, if I was in my early 20s, I don't know, it could be a little overwhelming.
Sure,
There's a lot of travel involved,
that.
Visiting doing so much by myself in foreign countries where I don't speak the language, visiting production and learning in the classrooms. It could be a little intimidating, but I guess because of my age and experiences I've had in life, I'm just so comfortable with these people. When I was hired to support these artisan brands years ago, there's a lot of money in markets, so there was a lot of emphasis on opening accounts with specialty markets, which I did, and I enjoyed educating their staff and their customers. But I always loved working with the chefs because of their passion. So when you look at it that way and you think about what you share in common with people and just speak from your heart and be who you are, things just evolve naturally, and you wind up surrounding yourself with the right people.
I love that. And, there's just like a genuine compatibility between you and a chef, because you're both, like you said, just so passionate about the product, the experience, the whole nature of it. I love this. Okay, in the next segment, I do want to talk a lot about the olive oil education, because I know there's so many nuances to it that even I don't know. So you're going to break it all down for us. Susan Julia is here breaking down what actually separates a bottle of olive oil worth savoring from one that's just, yellow water in a fancy shape. We've got harvest windows, grove to bottle timelines, and a few myths we're about to bust wide open. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970 The Answer.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970, The Answer.
We're back with olive oil sommelier Susan Julia, and I have a feeling some of you are about to walk into your kitchen and check the expiration date the second this segment's over. Susan, let's pick up where we left off. Okay, you brought some olive oil with you tonight. We're doing an on-air tasting, which is my favorite to do. How should we start this here?
Okay, so I brought you two different cultivars for us to taste, and it's a great way to open culinary because extra virgin olive oil should be considered an ingredient. It really enhances and flavors your food the way any other fresh ingredient would. So we are going to start with the one on top here.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And this is a Ligurian olive oil. Of course, I brought this because this is where my career started. But not only that, it's an incredibly versatile extra virgin olive oil. Chefs love this type of olive oil because it's not overpowering. It's really food friendly and complements any dish. And there's a wonderful buttery, creamy consistency with this. This type of oil is what's used in the DOP Genovese pesto, the authentic pesto that you have in Italy that's so creamy if you've ever been over there and had it. And it can be used on everything from eggs to ice cream. It's my favorite extra virgin olive oil to put on a dessert and bake with as well. So what we're going to do is put it in the palm of your hand, this little cup, and we're going to put our other hand over the top. And we're just going to swirl it around like this, warm it up. And the reason you want your hand on top is you're trapping the aromatic molecules. Your nose is the most important way to understand if an olive oil is fresh. And the more you do this, I would encourage you to go home and do this with whatever you have in your cabinet. The more you do this and start smelling olive oil, you're going to quickly learn what's fresh and what's not.
Oh my gosh.
So we're warming it up.
I'm going to do a video of this and post it later so people can see this technique that I've never done.
Bring it up to your nose, lift your hand, and inhale. So it should smell organic and natural. It should smell like it could be anything depending on the type of olive. This is the Tedesca, which is a sweeter, more elegant, lighter, mild, creamy olive. It's going to have light herbaceous notes, but something organic. Imagine walking through a garden. You don't want to smell crayons, for example.
Right.
You don't want to smell something that's musty, and stale. So this is mild, but it definitely has organic aromas that remind me of a garden, even like leaves a little bit. Then you want to slurp it.
You're literally tasting this like wine.
Yes, absolutely. You want to bring your tongue up to the roof of your mouth, slurp it in, and let it spray all over your mouth. And that's the best way to get the flavor profile on your tongue and also down the back of your throat. So what you should be getting on your tongue and notice is their bitter notes. Correct? Even though this is a milder, sweeter olive oil, there are bitter notes.
Bitterness.
And then there is a pungency. There's a little bit of a burn in the back. And that's why you want to aerate and bring the oxygen in your mouth. It kind of delivers the oil throughout your whole.
I don't have that technique quite down like you just yet, but
Nor do I.
It's called strapaccio. It's not like pretentious. It actually does help you slurp it and get it all over your palate. So if you
I love this.
Get that down. Are you tasting?
Yes.
Are you getting the bitter, the pungency on the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this is really important to understand because people think you shouldn't get that if it's a mild olive oil. This is considered a more mild, buttery, sweet olive oil. It's elegant and light. You still want to have that. That tells you that this is a fresh extra virgin olive oil. The olives are hand harvested at this farm and milled at the mill on their farm. So not only are the olives hand harvested with care, they quickly get to the mill. And it's a clean mill. It's the producer's mill. And that milling process is very important as well.
This is liquid gold.
It's lovely, but you see how it's light and it's elegant, and you can use it on so many things. Fresh fruit, it's just not going to overpower something.
Right. Okay,
So let's do the same technique with the second one.
Oop, I
Okay,
almost
you
went
wanna
straight to
cover-
the tasting.
No,
Fire
you
me.
always want to cover your nose. Cover the top and
Give it the swirl.
get a nice inhale through the nose. You do this longer if you're in a cold room, but it's not so bad here. So now this is going to have a stronger nose. This is a different cultivar. This is Terroir.
Oh, wow.
This is from Sicily. And this is a greener nose. Imagine walking through a garden, end of season, and you know how tomato leaves kind of fall on the ground and the tomatoes are very ripe. This has the aroma and the flavor of like the tomato leaf.
I think I have to go to Italy to really get the full experience.
The bitterness is on the tongue and the pungency is a little bit stronger with this one. So both the nose and the pungency are more elevated. This can complement.
This is mind-blowing for me.
I've
never done an
shellfish for
tasting.
imagine. Like the first one, I don't know, might be a little too mild for shellfish. This can work well with red sauces, like imagine caponata or eggplant, anything like that. It's stronger.
Yes.
More robust finish, but equally, lovely on the palate. So this is a great example of why extra virgin olive oil, first and foremost, should be considered an ingredient in food. Not just a pantry staple. It's a fresh juice.
Got
Did
that
a lot
pungency?
of slurping there.
You got that pungency in the throat?
I did. It's a fresh fruit juice. When you think about it that way, it's very different than wine or balsamic, which you can keep, even though you don't have to refrigerate it. When an olive comes off a tree, it's analogous to taking perishable food out of the refrigerator. So that olive needs to be picked at the right time. It needs to get to the mill as quickly as possible. It needs to be milled properly on clean equipment. And then it's stored in stainless steel tanks under nitrogen, and that protects the oil. A better producer is filling the bottles per order, so that olive oil sits in the best environment under, cool temperatures and is ready for you when you want it. And again, the first one is very mild. There's so many applications for this. And the second one we tried was more robust. These are only 2 cultivars. There are hundreds and hundreds of cultivars throughout the world. Italy alone is over 500. So when you think about Tajasca and northern Italy, milder, creamier, more buttery olive oils that are elegant, you can go to Tuscany and you're going to have Lacino, you're going to have Moriolo, you're going to have Frantoio. Those are more bitter olive oils. And Cortina is found predominantly in Puglia, although that shows up in other parts of Italy as well now too, and that's super spicy. It has more of the kick at the end. So it's great in more robust meals.
I have a question.
Sure.
What does extra virgin actually mean with olive oil?
So that's a good question, because there's extra virgin olive oil, there's pumice, for example. Extra virgin olive oil is judged by taste as well as chemical analysis. But the palate is really, and the nose is really what's telling you if it's fresh or not. And the more you taste and observe the different flavors, the more you're going to know what you like in cooking, but you'll understand freshness. Extra virgin olive oil has to be free of defects, 0 defects. Once you get to another level and another standard, it can be olive oil. Olive oil can also be refined and packaged with other oils, lesser quality oils. Pumice is something entirely different. And lampante is something that was used for lamps thousands of years ago. And that's not to be consumed. Now, that being said, there's adulteration that happens in different parts of the world. And the U.S. consumes a good amount of olive oil, 3rd in the world. But we also have a lot of lesser quality olive oil on the shelves of grocery stores. Now, that doesn't mean a quality extra virgin olive oil can't land in a grocery store. It's very important to understand the process. And as we were just discussing, when an olive is harvested, there's a green olive. The green olive has the least amount of oil, but it's very high in antioxidants. It's going to have the more bitter notes. It's going to have the fresh fruitiness, which we just experienced. Fruitiness on the nose, the bitterness on the palate, and then the pungency in the back. Those are the 3 attributes.
Okay. Some other things I need you to debunk for me, because someone asked me to ask you this when I said you were coming on the show. Does olive oil expire?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have to store it in your refrigerator? Because I store it on the counter, right? I have my little olive oil station, 3 or 4 of them. And then someone told me, no, you're supposed to put it in the refrigerator. And I said, well, that's news to me. I had no idea. And you put olive oil in the refrigerator, it congeals a little bit. And they're like, yes, that happens. And you take it and you put it on the counter for a few minutes and it's fine. But I said, my olive oil must be rancid because it's been on my counter for years.
So that's a great question. To start to finish, when you shop for extra virgin olive oil, look for extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass bottle. That's ideal.
Dark glass, definitely.
Impermeable. And you don't want clear glass. You absolutely don't want plastic. Olive oil can break down the particles of plastic. So that's what you're consuming if you buy
and then you have the
olive oil.
Microplastics in your body.
Exactly.
Oh.
You don't want olive oil that's sitting on the top shelf, because heat, light, and oxygen will ruin extra virgin olive oil. So even a quality extra virgin olive oil, which is usually positioned on the higher shelves in stores,
yes,
they're exposed to the fluorescent lights, and that's really a bad thing.
So we want bottom shelf.
Well, bottom shelf is really where they put the lesser quality olive oil. So I would say somewhere in the middle, away from light and away from heat. I sold olive oil in the past to beautiful specialty markets. I visit my stores, or I used to visit my stores, and I would find the olive oil displayed near a window. And I'd have to explain to them, get this away from the window or on top of a deli counter, cheese counter, exposed to a lot of light. So that's the fastest way for your oil to expire. And in the United States, the number one defect we find in the oils is rancidity. It just can get rancid because of the elements that it's exposed to in a market. It's important for you to start to talk to your marketplace owner or manager and ask them questions. Ask them when the extra virgin olive oil arrived. Ask them how they're storing it behind the scenes. And look at the bottle and you want to find a harvest date. You want to find not just the country that it came from. You want to find the cultivars that are in there and the region that it comes from. So this has the cultivar right on the front. You see it says Tajaska. A better producer is going to put all that information on the bottle the way a better wine producer will, because they want you to have that information. They take such pride in what they're producing in their region, on their farm. They want you to have that information. If you don't see a harvest date, if you don't see an area of origin, you're just seeing made in Italy, and you don't see the type of cultivar, you have no idea what you're buying. I would just stay away from bottles that don't have that information.
Yeah, that's very good information.
Bring it home, keep it on your counter when you're cooking with it, and then put it in a pantry. Lower pantry, cooler, dry, dark place is the best scenario, not displayed on your counter.
And certainly not next to the stove.
No, not next to the stove. Even the dishwasher. Even the dishwasher cabinet, that's parallel can throw off a lot of heat.
Okay.
So just find a pantry place that's cooler, and that's where you should keep it when you're not using it. Obviously, you have to have it on the counter when you're cooking with it, but then put it away. Seal it really tight. Make sure the top is on. I would not pour your olive oil in a beautiful decanter. People love to do that, but then there's always a little bit of residue from the previous bottle, no matter how well you clean it, and then that affects the next batch that you pour in.
With a bottle like this, your Susan Julia extra virgin olive oil, this is such a beautiful display piece anyway, the way it's packaged. I would love to keep this on the counter, but I'll store it properly. Now, if you're doing all these right things, you're buying it on the proper shelf, you're taking it home, you're caring for it the right way and storing it properly, what is the general shelf life for a good olive oil?
So once you open the bottle, I would say 3 months.
Oh, that quick.
That quick. But you should be using it in everything.
I know. Well, now I will.
It's so good for us. So I know when you were saying that you keep it for yourself, you want to start your children with extra virgin olive oil right away. It's great for brain development. It's an anti-inflammatory. As I said, it slows down digestion, so it helps your body absorb nutrients in your food. I have 2 little granddaughters now, identical twin granddaughters. My son and daughter-in-law had 8 months ago now. Yeah, or almost 9 months ago now. And my daughter-in-law is making all of their baby food from scratch. They live in Northern California. They have access to beautiful farms and wonderful produce there, and everything is being blended with this olive oil in particular because it's creamier and it's not overpowering, and it's great for them, but it's super, super healthy and good for these little bodies and and development. When you think of what you spend on a bottle of wine and how quickly you consume that, and then you think of using this even in 3 months, break that down per day and what it's costing you, it's nothing. Everyone watches their fat today, and healthy fats are so good for us. This is so good for us.
Okay, but
why not consume
about that?
A healthy one? Yeah,
because people misunderstand when they hear oil, olive oil even. They think, saturated fats and all these things, but the health benefits are so abundant in something like this. Let's talk more about that.
Exactly. So it's high in monounsaturated fats. It's so good for you. It's high in anti-inflammatory. So the peppery notes that we caught at the back of our throat, that is the oleocanthal, and that's the anti-inflammatory benefit that you get from extra virgin olive oil that mimics ibuprofen.
Oh, you're kidding?
No. And it's why there's such a rage right now to do shots of olive oil. And I just say to people, don't bother with shots of olive oil. It does have calories in it. Use good olive oil in your food. It makes your food taste so much better. And yes, you can cook with it. Smoke point for extra virgin olive oil, not these blended olive oils. Extra virgin olive oil is around 410, but the smoke point isn't telling you the oil is unstable. Olive oil has been tested under high heat. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd deep fry a turkey in it.
Could you make a chicken cutlet?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Think about the Mediterranean lifestyle. All the Mediterranean countries. It's the first ingredient in the pan, and it's the last ingredient they use to finish a dish before they serve. These recipes and dishes we've all come to love would not exist if you could not cook with extra virgin olive oil. And you want high quality. There's certain price points where you can find an extra virgin olive oil that's maybe slightly, not as strong, or it might be a better price point. In those cases, they could be using olives that are a little more ripe, so they're getting more oil out of each olive, and then they get a greater yield, and it might not have the benefits of the olives that are picked when they're green or when there's the slightly pink hue that starts to happen. That's an ideal time. So the price point might be a little bit lower.
I love it. All right, I think we got to head to commercial break. More with Susan Julia when we return.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970. The Answer.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Christina Cates, and we're wrapping up tonight's conversation with Susan Julia. So far, we've explored the craft, the passion, and the story behind exceptional olive oil. But now we're turning our attention to what really matters, how to bring it into your own kitchen. From choosing the right bottle to elevating everyday meals, we're ending tonight's show with practical tips, culinary inspiration, and a whole new appreciation for one of the world's oldest and most extraordinary ingredients. But first, I do want to talk about the skincare that you're using the olive oil with. You sent me it, I used it, and my life changed afterwards. And I have to tell you, you are absolutely stunning. And I know it's because you're dripping olive oil head to toe on your body. So tell me about the skincare part of your brand.
So skincare with regard to olive oil is about consuming it as well as using it on your body.
So from the inside out.
Yes, because we need healthy fats in our diet. And I just feel there was a time, maybe less so now, but there was a time when so many people were eliminating fats. They wanted to lose weight.
Yeah.
And we need healthy fats for so many reasons. Number one, our brain. Extra virgin olive oil, high quality extra virgin olive oil is heart healthy. It's an anti-inflammatory. It also helps with sugar spikes. So if you have diabetes, I'm not saying this, in place of medication you might be on, but carrots, for example, are higher in sugar as a vegetable. Roasting carrots with olive oil is beneficial for your body. And the sugar spikes it
more
slows
controlled.
That down. Exactly. So there are many, many reasons. But with regard to the skincare, I never sought out to create a beauty brand. It was the last thing I wanted to do, but it really came out of necessity. Mm-hmm. From the time I was young, I was trying to buy organic and simple ingredients, Clinique back in the day, whatever was the simplest on the market. And I don't know if it was my mom getting diagnosed with celiac that made me really focus on ingredient lists, but also just my own sensitivities. Mascara bothered me. Everything bothered me. Back in the day when I was in my 20s, I was a model, and the second I came home, I wanted to take all the makeup off my face that they used. And to this day, I use no makeup on my face. And foundation or anything. I think the more you stay away from products and start to get your skin healthy with pure ingredients, you will see a natural glow start to happen over time.
So
lots of water also.
You're putting olive oil on your face?
I'm using a product that is extra virgin olive oil and then other essential oils as well. But before I started to create my own product line, I was taking olive oil on a cotton ball. Mm-hmm. And I would wash my face really well. And then I would, on damp skin, I would sort of blot it, especially in the winter months. I would massage it into my cuticles, especially during the winter. Olive oil is the only oil that truly penetrates cuticles. I was bringing it to manicures and pedicures and asking them to incorporate it into my treatments because so many of the products were not good. So as I started to investigate what was on the market, I was adding extra virgin olive oil to the organic lotions I was buying. And one day I just said, why am I even doing this? This product is 75% water, which is what's in most highly expensive, beautifully packaged products we're using that we think are clean and pure. Alcohol also, which is, why do you want that in there? And I decided I wanted to use something for myself that just had a few ingredients. Extra virgin olive oil, and then specific essential oils that had benefits. So the one that you used has white camellia flower in it. The combination of the two makes it great for your scalp and your hair and your entire body. And I just started to work with products. The body oil is really the foundation of the line, and it's nothing more than food grade, certified organic, extra virgin olive oil, and essential oils. I have 4 varieties right now. Each one is different. One is Revive. It's great after working out. It's great after playing sports, whether you're playing tennis, golf, or whatever, or just a long day at work and your feet are tired and your calves are tired. It has peppermint oil in it and other essential oils, and it's great when you massage it into your body after showering. And then the one that you used has bergamot. It has the white camellia flower. I have one with lavender patchouli. It's great for relaxing. All of them are great to put on after a shower because my products have no water. If there's water in a product, you have to have preservatives, no matter what it says. It has preservatives in there. Yes,
but
because
I don't
of mold.
Understand. Oh,
and
okay.
yes. So the water will help the product absorb into your body, but a insignificant amount. So I always say exfoliate in the shower. We all need to get rid of dead skin cells.
Yep.
And then when you get out and your skin is still slightly damp, it's like 2 pumps for your upper body, 2 pumps for your lower body, wherever else. So you have dry spots, massage that in, and a little bottle goes a long way. And when you apply it to damp skin, it gets absorbed into your body quickly.
So that body oil you sent me, you're rubbing that in your hair also, or is that a different?
No, that one I am, because that's not all of them, but that one in particular. And I describe that on my website as something you can use head to toe because the ingredients in that are great for the scalp and great for the hair. I use it as a hair mask. So I'll massage it into my scalp and through my ends about an hour before I'm showering. I'll walk around the house and do chores. And then I shampoo and condition as I normally would with my products. And then I put a little bit in my palm and kind of put it on my ends. But what's really important to understand and why I started to make my own products is that what you are putting on your skin is going directly into your bloodstream.
I know. It's the biggest organ on your body, your skin.
Why wouldn't you want to use something that you can consume? And extra virgin olive oil is extra virgin olive oil. It's a pure product. There's no gimmicks. You crush an olive and you get juice out of it, and that's what you're putting on your skin. That's what I'm putting in my products. Olive oil is a different product. So a lot of skincare products have olive oil in them, but it's not extra virgin olive oil. So it's a refined product. So you have to just really start reading labels. And the more I moved away from all the products I was buying, and I'm exclusively using my own skincare now. I have a face wash that's made with extra virgin olive oil. White willow bark is in that as well. It's wonderful. It extracts impurities. It's great for young skin and older skin because it will never dry out your skin. It extracts the impurities at the same time. I mean, your skin feels wonderful when you wash with this. And then I have a facial oil that has extra virgin olive oil and a number of other essential oils in it. And I put that on for like a little glow, or I'll put it on at night. The more I'm using these products, I recognize how quickly I start to get itchy if I'm in a hotel or even just washing my hands in a restaurant with the soaps they have in the ladies' room. Because we have chemicals in everything we are using, and I'm more and more sensitive to it now because I've taken that out of my daily lifestyle.
I guess I'm never going to Walgreens again or a Sephora to buy any kind of product. I'm going to have to just head to SusanJuliaOliveOil.com for all of my needs. Let's talk a little bit more foodie conversation here. Do you have a favorite simple meal at home that you like to make with olive oil?
I really cook in season. I'm really a fan. It's really the Mediterranean lifestyle.
Oh, I always hear about that.
I don't like to say Mediterranean diet because it isn't a diet. These people do not diet. It is their lifestyle, and it goes beyond even what they're consuming. But most importantly, you're not seeing people run to a grocery store and stock up on tons of stuff they're freezing and sticking in a pantry. They're buying fresh ingredients almost daily. So buying things in season are very, very important for you, and supporting local farmers is important. So I try to cook seasonally, more root vegetables in the winter months, summer months. I mean, the season ahead of us, we both grew up in the Garden State, and
absolutely,
I mean, the farms there are still amazing to this day. So I love buying local produce, from the corn to the tomatoes. At the end of the season, they're amazing. The strawberries when they're in season, those little strawberries, not those huge things that are just so sweet like jam. To that point, my favorite breakfast is a really good yogurt, full fat, and then I pour extra virgin olive oil, whatever fruit is in season. So this time of the year, I would use berries often, and then peaches, when we're getting local peaches. In the fall, I'll use pears and apples, and then I'll drizzle local honey. I always like to incorporate a little local honey, and then really good sea salt flakes. And that's my breakfast. And it's so satisfying, and it's decadent at the same time.
It has fat, it has
so
all the things.
Good for you. All of that is skin food as well, that I just described as skin food. Winter months, I like to roast the root vegetables, and whether it's sweet potatoes, carrots, turnips, anything like that, whatever I have in my refrigerator, onions, chop them up, put them on a cookie sheet, and then just cover them with olive oil. and just sort of blend all of that. And then I just oven roast it. Sometimes I'll throw nuts on the cookie sheets. Sometimes I'll throw beans on the cookie sheets, garbanzo beans. And
like a crispy chickpea type snack.
And then I'll pull that out and decide on what protein I'm going to have, whether it's chicken, whether it's, I don't even feel like having meat. I'll make an egg and have that on top of this bowl of vegetables. But really simple ingredients, and it's why I say in your pantry you should have several extra virgin olive oils with different flavors that you can use in different ways. When I do the root vegetables in the winter, I love a good, more bitter, strong Tuscan extra virgin olive oil stands up to that. And a really good honey. Honey is so healthy for us.
Yeah, we're going to do a show about that.
Really good sea salt flakes. Or sea salt. Those are basics that don't cost you a fortune when you think about how you use them and how they elevate any dish. And anyone could cook if they have quality pantry ingredients, and then just incorporate whatever's in season that you have in your refrigerator.
I love it. We are running out of time, but I do want to talk about one more thing that I should have touched on earlier. You had mentioned you do these kind of courses, these olive oil education classes. What's the structure like when you have a group in front of you, you're going to someone's home? Like, walk me through that, because I think that sounds really cool. I've never heard of something like that before.
I want the tastings to be really approachable, so I really curate to my audience, and I like to have conversations with the person who has reached out to me. I teach in schools, so I teach chefs, and I also have worked with doctors. Those are more formal classes that are more academic. But in home, I get the vibe of the person, of the host. And whether it's a backyard party, and we incorporate extra virgin olive oil with grilling because it's so good to do that, or we even do like an aperitivo hour kind of concept where there's a Tuscan table with different appetizers. There's always like maybe 3 to 5 extra virgin olive oils that we taste, and I incorporate defective oils. I like people to recognize what a defective oil smells like and tastes like. They don't even have to taste it. They're going to get it on their nose right away. And I often will walk out of the room when I serve that one to just hear what comes out. And people will often say, this is like what I have at home, or this smells like crayons. And so they vary. And I teach kids. I was telling you I work at the Boys and Girls Club, and I do olive oil tastings with 5-year-olds. And
That's
they're
cool.
very, very descriptive when they tell me what they're smelling and what they taste. And they get into it.
You're training their palate at an early age.
Yes.
But do you ever do the tastings with like bread? Or you're always doing it with these small
No, you want to do the
sippers?
actual tasting out of a cup. You don't want to incorporate bread after.
Okay.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's like a really simple way to share the culinary experience. If you don't have a lot of space and you're doing a tasting and you want food involved, I can have 3 different plates that we pour 3 different olive oils on, and then different types of spices that can enhance depending on the region that it comes from or the country that it comes from. Olive oil is produced all over the world now, and
it is
in both hemispheres, so you can get fresh extra virgin olive oil all year long.
But you lean into the Italian more.
Not because it's my preference. They're wonderful extra virgin olive oils, honestly produced everywhere. And some of the cultivars that were traditionally grown in Italy are being grown in South America now. It's very easy to do a tasting experience with different flavor profiles with Italian olive oils exclusively, because there's so many regions of Italy growing different types of olives, and different olive oils emerge from those regions. So they can enhance a lot of different food groups and different dishes. So for that reason, I am always incorporating at least one Italian extra virgin olive oil. But
I like that.
Wonderful olive oils from Greece, from Spain, from South America, as I said, from South Africa. I've worked with wonderful producers from South Africa where they have beautiful, delicate, elegant extra virgin olive oils. Turkey, Argentina.
Wow.
There's Chile, there's great stuff all over.
So universal. All right, no surprise here. We're not doing an ingredient of the week because olive oil is the ingredient we spoke about for the last hour. So we just want to keep the focus on that. But Susan Julia reminds us that great food is often about simplicity, quality, and intention. Sometimes the most powerful culinary experiences aren't elaborate at all. They're a loaf of bread, beautiful olive oil, and gathering around a table with the people that you love. Thank you for listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on AM 970 The Answer. Susan Julia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. For anyone who's ever grabbed a bottle off the shelf without a second thought, I think we all just got a serious education. And honestly, I'll never look at my pantry the same way again. Susan, thank you for your time and the passion you brought to this. Head to SusanJuliaOliveOil.com for more information. I promise you that you will become obsessed with her line of products just like I am. And to all of you listening, next week we're shifting gears to talk trends. I'm sitting down with Brett Thorne, Senior Food and Beverage Editor at Nation's Restaurant News, to dig into what's actually moving the needle in restaurants right now, what's rising, what's fading, and what he sees before the rest of us even know what to look for. You will not want to miss this one. Until then, I'm Christina Cates. This has been Culinary Confidential. Eat well, drink well, and we'll see you next time.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune in to Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.